I really, I just love doing it. I like doing it. And in the times that I tried to stop, what happened is I missed it. And then there was a possibility to come back. So I went back to it. It's like when I stopped dancing, it's like I feel so lost. Recently, I mean, I know I got it back into tip-top shape for gold, and then after gold, I stopped dancing again, and then I started to feel lost again. So, I mean, it's just, I know, harder and harder to get back after you stop. So, I don't know.
And follow up, Miss Lisa, out of all the classic ballet performances you did or that you've done before, what is Swan Lake your most favorite or close at heart?
Well, Swan Lake is, for me, it's the hardest. So that's why it was the first ballet that I said goodbye to in my Swan Song series, because for me it's the hardest. If I'm going to dance Swan Lake again in the future, I'll probably just be doing White Swan, not the black. Okay. Swan Lake is close to my heart because it's a ballet that everybody said, including my teacher, my Russian teacher, said I should never do. But then, when the situation presented itself in Cuba, I was very young then. I was 25, and this Brazilian ballerina couldn't make it. She got injured. There was nobody to dance Swan Lake, and the manager of the Cuban ballet came up to me and said, "Would you like to dance Swan Lake? You have to learn it and dance it in 4 days." So I'm like, and at that time, of course, the thing in my back, that basic insecurity in the back of my head of my teacher saying, "You can dance everything except Swan Lake." Sabi ko, well, now's the opportunity to dance Swan Lake in Cuba pa, in Havana, and I was the only foreigner in that cast of Swan Lake. Everybody else was Cuban. Everybody else was speaking Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. And then it was the version of Alicia Alonso. It wasn't the familiar version of the Russian version that I was familiar with. So I really had to learn a new ballet, 4 acts in 4 days. And I danced it. And then I danced it. I danced Swan Lake in Cuba. So wala nang masasabi yung mga Russian teachers ko. After that, I danced it in the Philippines and I danced it in Russia. I started dancing it all over. It was one of my more performed classical ballets, yeah. Aside from probably Nutcracker and Kitri in Don Quixote. Yeah. After that, Swan Lake is one of my most performed ballet.
And I believe when it comes to Swan Lake, because iba dati, it was usually performed as Odette and Odile was performed as separate. Now it's more challenging because it's going to be performed by the main ballerina. So what is your advice to the current performer right now, portraying both roles? How hard it is, or what's the preparation?
Well, really, the way to prepare for a role is you rehearse. You rehearse, you work really hard at it. I mean, it's helpful to work with a teacher, of course, with a coach who's danced it before, and who can like guide you in, all the moves. But there is, at a certain point, the teacher can really only do so much, and after that, you have to take it and make it your own and bring it to the next level, which is the performance. And you have to convince the audience that you are Odette and you are Odile. You have to go on stage and convince them they shouldn't see, they shouldn't see Lisa Macuja. They shouldn't see who you are as a person. They should see Odette and Odile. Now, the only way to do that is you have to be able to do the steps properly. You have to have the stamina to last 4 acts and not one at the end, especially. You're not supposed to die at the end. You have to be a mix of, yun nga. See, the challenge of dancing Odette Odile is Odette is so soft and vulnerable and virginal and pliant and lyrical, and Odile is so seductive and cunning and evil and so she it's like two completely separate different persons, but you're the same ballerina. So I call it nga balletic schizophrenia in my blog. Because nga, it's like being two persons, but you're actually just one person. That's why it's the penultimate classical ballerina role, because Swan Lake is a ballerina's ballet. The leading ballerina in Swan Lake can make or break the show. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Pangilang presentation ng Ballet Manila yung Swan Lake?
Ngayon?
For the record.
I don't know the exact figure, but I think it's in the nasa 50s or 60s. We've done many performances of Swan Lake since 1995. First with combining with Russian companies because we weren't big enough to do Swan Lake on our own. And then in 2003, we had a full Swan Lake, just Ballet Manila on our own. 2003, then we had another production in 2005, and then 2006. Maraming beses na namin nasayaw. And then 2011 was my Swan Song series, and then now 2014.
What's the difference for this version, the one coming up? May binago po ba? May mga bagong, styles?
There are some differences. Well, of course, the costumes. We have new costumes for Act 1. And then we have some updated sets and the ending. We've changed the ending a little bit kasi we didn't do the running and then jumping into the cliff. We changed it a little bit. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it now. We changed it to a big lift, big dramatic lift. So she's there until the end, and they're fighting Rothbard, and Rothbard falls into the pit, and then that's the only time Odette and Siegfried exit. But other than that, most of the choreography of Lev Ivanov for Act 2 and 4 and the choreography of Sergei Vikulov for Act 1 and Act 3 are the same. Just different casts, of course.
What about the music? So,
The music is the same. It's Peter Tchaikovsky.
Like you guys, Miss Lisa has a blog. It's called
LisaMacuja.com. Yeah, it's
her stories, all the stories that she's been
it's on
telling you.
points.
On points, yeah. It's all there. You can read it in complete detail. So in case you want to get more insights and know more about her. So she's as prolific as you are. She's always
Well, not really.
Question po. Since yung Swan Lake po, it has been performed by the company so many times. You think Swan Lake has been one of the favorites na Filipinos?
I think it is a favorite of it's one of the most well-known ballets. Okay, even like the general public will know what Swan Lake is, whether it's from watching Black Swan, the movie, or from watching a performance of Swan Lake before, or from watching excerpts of Swan Lake, or even just watching Barbie Swan Lake, Swan Lake cartoons. There's several cartoons actually of Swan Lake. So, but definitely it's the most popular classical ballet after Nutcracker. Yeah. So it's more popular than Sleeping Beauty. It's more popular than Don Quixote, than Giselle. It's Swan Lake is. It's the penultimate ballet done by a classical ballet company. Why? Because it's challenging not just for the principals, but for everybody from the soloists to the corps de ballet. So the way a classical ballet company is judged is normally from its performance of Swan Lake. That's like the benchmark, the standard that most classical ballet companies are judged for and pitted against. You know, people balletomens tend to compare the Swan Queens and the Siegfrieds of these principal dancers, and they tend to compare the Swan Lake productions of different companies all over the world. Yeah, so lalo na ang like the rivalry between, say, the Swan Lake of Bolshoi and the Swan Lake of Kirov, and the Swan Lake of New York City Ballet and the Swan Lake of American Ballet Theater. You know, there's a lot of competition there. Who has the better Swan Lake? Also, Swan Lake kasi because the music of Tchaikovsky is it's very popular, and it's been choreographed on a lot. So you have not just the classical version of Swan Lake, you have the more contemporary versions of Swan Lake. You have the version of Christopher Wheeldon, you have the version of Grigorovich, you have the version of even Mats Ek with all male swans, you know. Yeah, so you have different versions of Swan Lake.
How long did it take the company to prepare for the whole production?
It took us a month.
A month.
Less because it's already been done, so it's quite easy to restage. If it's a new choreography, then it takes us longer. It takes us up to 3 months. But this one, because it's a standard classic and most of the cast have danced it before, so it was a lot easier to mount this time around.
How do you choose for the principals for like, for example, for Swan Lake? Or do they have to audition for it? Like
normally what I do as artistic director is I give as mini assignments the main dancing parts of Swan Lake. Say the Swan Lake Adagio, White Adagio from Act 2, or the Black Swan Pas de Deux from Act 3. I make them perform in a concert, just that little part. So they rehearse it and they perform it. And kung bagay sa kanila, they do a good job, then that's where I base my casting for. So that's what happened with the girls that you see now in the lead. I made them dance a little bit first at the beginning of the season, and then I watch their performances, and then I assign the casting on the roles.
Ma'am, how would you rate our local ballerinas?
How would I rate them? Very strong, willing, and able, actually. Their training and their technique and their preparation for the role is, I think, quite sufficient. It's not the 4 days that I had in Cuba. Okay? It's sufficient. They're ready. The company is ready. From what I've been watching the last couple of days rehearsals, the company is ready, and all the principal dancers are ready for their debuts in the role. Of course, even me, I mean, if I compare my Swan Lake when I first danced it in Cuba, 20-something years ago, and the Swan Lake that I danced 3 years ago, then, of course, you know, you grow into the role, you become more adept at it. You know when to push, when to conserve. You just are more experienced, and you're just more mature. And there are things that you do better. There are things that you do, that you basically you grow into. So the performance is more polished as you perform it again and again. So the performance that you will see of these ballerinas in the next few days, if they revisit the role 2 years from now or 3 years from now, then it's going to grow and get even more polished. Not saying that what they're dancing now is not good. It's very good. In fact, I was very pleased with the way Act 2 went earlier.
The Swan Lake, ma'am, usually tradition na po ba ito sa Ballet Manila every year or once a year? Can you perform?
I do 2 classical ballet full-length productions every season. That's what I try to do as artistic director. So, our Swan Lake happens sometimes every other year, sometimes every 2 years. Matagal na siguro yung 3 years gap. Yeah. Because that's how you get stronger, and that's how you really nurture a classical ballet company. You have to keep on doing the classics.
How do you rate the generation today compared to your generation before you were starting your ballet? Is there difficulties training the new generation ballets?
Well, the kids nowadays, they have a very different mentality. Number one is before, it's normal to stay for a long time, in fact for most of your career, in one company. Okay? Now, kids nowadays, they maybe stay 1 or 2 years, 3 years, and then they want to move on and go to a different company. Okay? 2 is, sometimes they think being able to do 1 full length, say Swan Lake, that's it, you're made. That's not the case. Yes, you do one Swan Lake and you can say, yes, I have danced the role of Odette Odile. But, iba yung once mo lang nasayaw sa nasayaw mo 10, 15, 20 times, no? The artist that you are is different from once mo lang nasayaw. Okay? That's one mentality that I have to try and get rid of from the kids today, from the dancers today. And another is they think that it's a cut and paste culture, so it's a YouTube culture also. So you see something that they're doing, and I'm like, why are you doing that? And then say, kasi napanood ko sa YouTube. It's like, okay, maybe if you can watch and learn some things in YouTube, pero iba pa rin yung hands-on and sa rehearsal mo matututunan and gagawin mo from the rehearsal, from working with a coach, rather than, researching on YouTube and doing things, differently from the vision that your artistic director or your teacher or your mentor is polishing you and molding you into. Okay? So that YouTube can. And then a lot of dancers nowadays, they are so they're so inept, impatient to be given the roles parang the mentality is, if I'm given the role, I will prepare for it, I'll get ready for it, and then I'll dance it. But the thing with the dancer's life is you go to work every day, and in class every day you prepare for the roles that you will be given. So you have to work hard every day, not just work when a role is given to you. Okay? So you have to really work every day in polishing your technique, polishing your form, keeping strong, keeping in shape. Kasi you never know what will happen and what role will be given to you once your director sees you.
Really, being the artistic director, what is the, I guess you're very much prepared for this version of Swan Lake, pero what are the challenges in, producing this one?
Well, challenges is I have, but my company has more boys than girls. So I actually, I'm in a very weird situation wherein I have more boys than girls. So sometimes when somebody's absent or somebody gets sick or somebody gets injured and it's a girl, it's a big, big, big problem. Okay? Nothing that cannot be remedied, but it's a big problem. I don't know if you noticed today, there were 4 little swans on one side and only 2 big swans on the other. That's because one big swan got sick. See? So it's just really hard because my bench is very shallow for girls. Okay, that's one major challenge for putting up Swan Lake for Ballet Manila. Next is Swan Lake is always very hard on the corps de ballet. You have to have a very strong corps de ballet. Because I have less girls than boys, I have to tap the advanced students from the school. So, when you are tapping advanced students from the school, you are dealing with 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds who have to go to school in the morning and in the early afternoon. So nakakahabol lang sila sa class and rehearsals at around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So you only get the complete cast after 6. So you can only work from 6 till around 9. So again, that's a very challenging thing. If I had the whole company from 1 o'clock in the afternoon, like what most companies actually all over the world do, they have their dancers for 8 hours a day to rehearse, then the rehearsals would be better and more polished and probably just more efficient, and the output will be better. But when you're dealing with really, really young dancers, then we just have to adjust also.
I noticed that a lot of girls right now are really interested in enrolling in ballet classes. Why do you think so? They are more, they're increasing right now. Why girls right now, even small girls?
Well, first of all, ballet, I think, teaches you a lot of
Discipline.
and it's also it's quite a social.
Graceful, being graceful.
It teaches you posture. It keeps you fit.
Yes.
And it's something that is different from going to the gym. It's not all repetition. It's not all 1, 2, 3, 4. Boring crunches or it's moving to music.
Yes.
And it's graceful and it's something that it's just enjoyable.